Trophies on PSN, bringing our third podcast to you guys. Today, our third podcast to you guys. Today, our third podcast to you guys. Getting a little bit of feedback there. Apologize for that. I'm still learning all this stuff. Today, we're going to be joined by Dante. Say hello, Dante.
Hello.
And a little bit later, hopefully, we'll be joined by StarGate, which you guys are familiar with from the site. Today I'm going to try to do a little bit of podcasting while I'm doing some stuff with the images, so bear with me. A little bit new to it, but we've got some new images that were, a few of them were generated by Podge from the site, and thank you for those images, Podge. But we're going to be trying to do something a little bit different here and keep up with making the podcasting as interesting as possible, improve from week to week, starting with some of these banners and things that are popping up. So first off, let me get to a little bit of the news. I told you guys last week what I'm going to try to do is give you a little news update from week to week. One of the things I'm going to start with, kind of regularly, and this week I'll start it off, is mentioning an arcade game. One of the arcade games I want to mention this week is Mike's Shadow. I paid for it. It's a cute little game that's up on the site that involves vandalizing a vending machine, if you can believe that. It's quite interesting little game, and we'll try and highlight one of those from week to week, but I encourage you to stop by and try that. I'll be adding about 300 new games here shortly, and what we'll do is just add games from time to time, especially ones that you guys find particularly interesting. Now, the other thing that we've got that's going on is a lot of changes with our video showcase. Some stuff with staff tiles and stuff going around you may see. We're designing those, and I encourage you, anyone that's interested in art to help us redesign those staff tiles, join in the things like the signature of the week, because we certainly want to showcase your videos, your written work, and all that leads me to talking about Dante. Dante is now going to be our community manager. And so we're going to be putting a lot on his shoulders in those regards. And, I'd like to welcome him, and we'll have him tell us a little bit about himself and, what his plans are for the social media, because he is our new community manager. He'll be reaching out to everyone via, these podcasts, Facebook, YouTube, anything where there's a connection where you can email, send in, tweet, all that. He's going to be encouraged to just hear from you guys, get feedback. If we can help you with your channel and grow in your channel, we're going to do that. And certainly anything that you want to see on here, ask questions about, we're going to welcome that. We're slowly improving. We're getting better at our podcasts, and hopefully in the future we can have some of the members on as guests and let them ask questions. But for now, let's start with Dante. And Dante, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what your plans are and what you'd like to see from our site members?
I think we sort of discussed about this in private the other day, but essentially the core thing is to grow our community. As you say, one of the things, certainly on the cards is not to just sort of grow the community without any interaction, but sort of get people being able to use trophies on PSN as their link to each other. That's their point in common. And as you say, being able to help, the flip side of that is obviously being able to help with other people's YouTube videos, get people from YouTube coming in and talking to the community, maybe giving tips, learning from them, and so on. So, for trophies on PSN, the whole social network itself is going to be a very important thing in that aspect, but also to help bring in new members and more skills and so on. But the thing with me is it's kind of like, as an inspiring games journalist, I am intrigued by the whole social networking side of things and how that implements with games. So I'm actually quite excited to be on board with helping out with that. I don't know how would you? I'm just trying to think if I've explained that perhaps not clearly enough. But how would you see it growing?
My big thing is we're not directly in the YouTube business. we're a newer website where our writers and stuff, we're still kind of finding our ground. So my thing is I've always had a vision that gamers have various interests. Some like to write, some like to do art, and it's all still related to gaming. So, my thing is to boost people's talents. If you have a particular skill and you want to be a journalist, we should support that as well. Because a gaming website should be all about really good news, which requires really good writers. Everything from guides all the way up to playing games and stuff. We're all gamers, and we all want to get the best enjoyment out of a video game, whether it's trophy hunting, or even just giving everybody a heads up so they don't waste money on a game that's not very good. Writing a review for other people it's a form of help, and if you have experience and you're a gamer, then it only stands to reason that if we bring out the best in everyone's innate talent, then we're helping the gaming community overall. So, that's my focus, is to get in touch with all those people, invite them over. I particularly like to get YouTubers and stuff, and let's as a community say, hey, how can we improve their gaming videos? What things do we like to see? A lot of people work hard and they can't find their niche without getting lots of feedback. If somebody's particularly good at commentary, let's encourage them to do commentary. If they're better at another one, then let's tell them.
So I've seen some great things on Trophies on PSN already, and I think certainly going forward, there's certainly a lot to get excited about in that field. We've certainly got some talented members on the sites, and I think without sort of sounding too corny or cheesy about it, Trophies on PSN is kind of that one-stop shop, and the social media side of it is certainly going to be important to sort of grow that a bit more, so that we can get more people coming and sort of communicating through that one place, essentially, so that we can all achieve what we want to.
Yes, and I'll say, from a standpoint of where we've grown, I feel like we're in our infancy, because I haven't strived to do any advertising. I haven't strived to do that yet, and we've got some things coming, namely some stuff with trophy cards that should blow our membership up pretty big and get people here. But I'd also like to create a proper place for people, and sometimes that's a challenge. Obviously, getting clans and things over without having the clan offerings makes it difficult to find out what clans want. Putting one before the person actually gets there to tell you what they want, to give them something they want to get them there to first place, sometimes is a challenge. But we're certainly trying to do that and build it a little bit and get in position and improve things. You may have noticed some movement on the front pages, and we're certainly, our programmers are working on pulling all the information, and we'll get to sorting it really good and displaying it really well. And a big part of that is the news. And so I thank you for the work that you've already done. You've jumped in with both feet, and I really like that. That's great. It shows that that's your first love, and regardless of Trophies on PSN, you want to do the news, and you like to look into the news and write, and that's a perfect marriage there, because I hate to take on somebody in a position and say, hey, I want you to do this, and then you're sitting there going, oh, it's a chore, it's a task. We can tell that you love it and you love writing, and that's awesome. And so we'll do this upright, and we'll get you whatever resources you need. And I hope the community gives you some great feedback and direction as well.
Yeah, I mean that's all I can really say. Really, is it is something I really do fundamentally enjoy, and it's definitely. In the overall scheme of the challenge to grow and social network and stuff, it's certainly integral to my position and how I push things forward as well, making sure that we have good content. And I do have a lot of fun and certainly enjoy the writing side of things. So all I would really say is, if you're reading those articles, sign up to the site if you're not already. Get your feedback down on there, because I do make it a note to actually go and read and the comments that people put on things that have been written, and try and respond and communicate with them, because I think, you know, having feedback can only help how we go forward with producing the content. And essentially, if you want the quality content, you know, if we have the feedback, we can improve that quality. So yeah, please do comment and let us know what you think of it.
Yeah, not only that, I'll add to that with, you know, if there's something you'd like to see a story on or something that kind of slips by, you know, obviously we won't catch everything, and sometimes people will hear about a story or something that's not a mainstream news item, and they go, hey, how come I didn't hear about, you know, what comes to mind is Microsoft being sued by Motorola, and, you know, things like that. Just put up a little quick blurb, maybe send a note or an email to the news people and let them know. And we'll certainly look into what's going on with that and try and provide the information as quickly as we can.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know Scrubs and Spratters have struggled for news in the past, so yeah, get those if you have news tips and stuff, as you mentioned, like the whole Microsoft being sued by Motorola, aka now Google. Yeah, do let us know, because although I spend a lot of my time reading a lot of editorial pieces online, I wouldn't say that everybody's the same as me. So yeah, do get them in.
Yeah, does Google own everybody yet?
Yeah, it's going that way, isn't it? It's crazy. I think they probably purchased them more than patents, more than anything. I think it's something ridiculous, like $14 billion or something they bought them for.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I was talking to actually StarGate just a little bit last night. Motorola's really well-renowned in the communications and stuff in the United States. They create a lot of the things used by police and military for communication. So they have they hold a lot of patents in regard to that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, from an industrial point of view, you know, Motorola is still pretty relevant, but more from a consumer point of view, in the last couple of years, they're not been as prominent as, say, your Nokias or your Samsungs or anything like that. They've not been in the public eye as much, which is, you know, even with that, I'm still amazed that they paid that amount of money, even for the patents. But it'll be interesting to see where Google do take Motorola. I believe there's a new Motorola handset coming, or there's one just been released as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that all comes along, and obviously Google are pushing Android as well, which, coming back to the game side of things, it'll be interesting to see that now Google have a manufacturing outlet to produce electronics device. Are they going to push things like gaming on those devices and so on?
Yeah, and how will they link with other things Google's got going on?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of StarGate, let's pull him into the call here and see if we can get him to join with us. Calling StarGate.
Oh.
What's favorite color?
StarGate, what's going on, my man?
I'm alright. What's going on?
We're on with Dante.
Yeah, I'm here.
What's up, dude?
Yeah, not much. Just
little hard to hear you, StarGate.
Just been talking about the whole Google and Motorola fiasco, and obviously them suing Microsoft. So.
Yeah, I just read the thread. Apparently, this dates back to May 27th.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The story I brought up that's a little outdated. Something that I believe Kruger was posting in, and in the first part of September, they basically ruled that they could not ban the Xbox sales. So that's not going to happen with with Google / Motorola blocking the Xbox. But you know, what may come of it is eventually you know, some funds ended up being owed if they can do some stuff with the patents. You know, we're talking about a kind of a global economy nowadays, and so some of the stuff with patent law doesn't apply in every country, which can be tricky because the Xbox isn't even made in the United States. It's made mostly in like places like China and things like that. But yeah, it's interesting to see that they infringed upon the patents, and originally they were talking about banning the Xbox, and then in the public interest they decided that they weren't gonna recommend that. They referred back to a U.S. court who said nope.
Did you guys find Microsoft's response quite amusing? Because I do remember reading this back in sort of May time, and I do remember one of the key points of Microsoft's defence was that it would restrict consumer choice, and that consumer choice would be poorer because they would be left to choose from just the PS3 and Wii. And I found it quite amusing as a way of defending any sort of banned sale.
As a public interest, you know, that was what they said. In the public interest, to leave people with just the Wii and the PS3 would not be in the best public interest. Yeah, I remember reading that and thinking that it wouldn't be in their interest, certainly, but, you know, I don't know how it's something that's... they made it seem like, and apparently it's enough of an economic stability factor that they said, you know, that they would not support the ban, but I don't know how an Xbox is paramount to anything but Microsoft's, you know, a personal economy there. So, but yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, I definitely remember sort of having a good old chuckle over that. I don't think, you know, looking over some of the sort of news stories with other patent cases like the whole Apple Samsung thing and so on, I don't think I've ever seen a defence quite like it. It was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, Stargate, your connection with me is a little bit fuzzy there. Hopefully you can still hear us.
No, I can hear you fine.
Showing yellow on the Skype since we got connected. Yeah, so let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about you know, Dante. You recently went to the EuroGamer Expo, and you know, I hit you up a little bit. I really want to hear kind of just your overall experience. You know, I'm one of those people I like to hear the general direction of gaming and what your take is on it, because that's what's most important to me more than, you know, individual game releases. So tell us about your experience there, what games you got to play, and probably walked away with some freebies and stuff. That
it's all about the freebies.
It is, isn't it?
That's what I say to myself every year. No, I went sort of for 2 days this year as opposed to when I went last year, where I only went for just the day. So I actually than in previous years. There was certainly a lot more on there, which is strange because, like last year, we around this time of the year we still had the same amount of releases as we had this year. It just seems this year they're sort of more prominent. So yeah, I mean it was good fun. It was 2 days of hard slog walking and running everywhere, the loud music and so on. But there's some great games there. I mean, I assume you guys. And most people listening into this probably have read the Assassin's Creed 3 preview that I wrote for the site. I was actually truly gobsmacked by that. I just thought, when I sort of approached it and sort of thought, do I really want to spend time on this because it's just going to be the same old Assassin's Creed? It surprisingly wasn't. It just, the breadth and scope of that game is absolutely mind-blowing. And I'd probably go as far to say it's probably one of the most favourite games I've had to play there this year.
Really?
And I did play a lot, just running through some of the titles that were on show that I got a chance to get hands on. There was Need for Speed Most Wanted, which is obviously a big title for the Christmas period. There was Dishonored, which is releasing this week. Just want to make sure that people know that if you live in the US, it is coming out as a digital title, and you can save some money off that with PS Plus this week as well. What else did we play? Far Cry 3 was present, Crysis 3 was present, the Wii U was present, although I didn't really get a chance to have too much of a go at that. Obviously, the inevitable Call of Duty was present. The queues for that were insane. I think when I finally got round to actually getting hands-on time with it, I'd been battered by advertising for about 2 solid hours before I actually got my hands on it. That shows you how crazy it is. But yeah, so essentially all the games that you can imagine that you probably got on your pre-order list this year were all present, and I did get a chance to play on them, although I do apologise for the delay in actually getting a lot of these previews up on the site. One title that probably disappointed me quite a lot with show this year was probably Devil May Cry. I don't know if you guys are particularly looking forward to that title.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about that series myself. What do you think, Stargate?
Good night. If we can, before I forget, if we can make sure we put a link in the description of the video about Dante's preview of Assassin's Creed 3, the article.
Yeah, I'm sure Kryptonite can probably sort that out.
Well, we can.
But
we can
what
post
I was just saying is, are you guys particularly looking forward to Devil May Cry?
Yeah, it's not a series that I'm familiar with that I've really can't really honestly say that. You know, one of the things that we talked about in the last podcast and things that, you know, we're looking forward to, and of course I'm on track with The Last of Us, which is still to be announced, so probably be likely sometime next year. Black Ops 2 interests me a little bit, GTA 5, but you know, I mean, some of these titles are a little bit you know, obscure. Some people play certain types of games. That's not one that I've hit up a lot, you know. So.
Well, I think for most people that sort of been, you know, Devil May Cry is certainly on the radar, just purely because of the change of direction that Capcom have chosen to take with it by getting in a Western developer to build the game for them. And I've got to be honest, from the 2 levels I played on it, you know, I'm a big fan of the Devil May Cry series. You know, you guys on the site know that obviously my name stems from Dante. You know, out of the Devil May Cry series, I've watched the animes and so on. So I am a big fan of Devil May Cry, and it was such a disappointment getting hands on with it. It just, it didn't feel like a Devil May Cry game. It's like Ninja Theory, the guys behind it, have not only changed the aesthetic of it, but they've tried to make it into a very bad version of Bayonetta. And that's not a good thing. Do you know what I mean? It's like they have kept a lot of the sort of style moves and so on like that, but it's just certain aspects of, like, the level design, for example, are just there for the sake of being there. They're not there to actually help you or anything like that, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in terms of everything I've played, Devil May Cry was certainly probably the most disappointing thing that I had time to play with. Dishonored may be one that people are kind of intrigued by because of obviously it being published by Bethesda. I've heard a lot of people describe it as sort of like the Half-Life Thief crossover, which most console players might not necessarily know what Half-Life or Thief is.
Yeah, actually I do.
So if I was going to... Yeah, well, but I've probably just made a general sweeping statement there. But, yeah. Go ahead.
I just recently viewed through the entire trophy list of Dishonored, and there's actually, what's really unique is there's one trophy which kind of begs the question, which states that you can actually, it requires you to complete the entire game without killing a single person. So it's definitely going to be very tricky in terms of how you actually play the game. Are you going to be passive? Are you going to be like a rage and start fighting everybody, or are you going to kill only the set targets? So it's going to be very interesting in terms of, and all these superpowers, how you jump, how the knife. It seems incredible. Definitely on my to-do list.
From what I sort of played of it, if you've ever played a Fallout game, you'll be very home with the controls and so on like that. But yeah, from the sort of 10-minute level that I played, you're absolutely right with that. It's pretty much anything goes. You can do, you can choose how you wish to approach the objective that you're given. So essentially, as you say, you can go and do it without killing people. There's one of the powers I was able to road test was the ability to teleport. So what you basically do is you go into like your weapons dials, select teleportation, and you don't wield anything. You just get this hand in front of you because it's a first-person thing, and you literally just point a marker on the screen and press the button, and hey presto, you teleport. So if you have to like sneak past a bunch of guards, that's obviously going to come in quite useful. But you don't have to teleport. You could essentially just go and take them all on, take them out with a crossbow, or you know, there tends to be sort of alternative routes. I know I tried to climb up a building and go over some of the roofs. Although I did end up back where I started originally. So, you know, from what I saw, there wasn't sort of any sort of on-screen compass, and they were a bit hesitant about letting us have access to the menus as well. Because one of the other features of Dishonored is like this tarot card system, where essentially you collect cards, and the tarot cards are basically superpowers. And so if you wanted to, for example, pause time, what you do is you select the main menu, go into your tarot cards, deal out the cards that you need for stopping time, unpause the game, it will stop the time, and then you can just literally run through the level.
Wow.
So I think Dishonored, for me personally, it didn't light a fire underneath me in terms of enthusiasm, even with all the potential features. But I do honestly believe it's probably going to be the sleeper hit of this Christmas. It'll be the one game that people aren't really necessarily talking about, in like, you know, in response to the recent games that have just come out, like Borderlands and 2 and Resident Evil 6. But it'll definitely sell well, and I think people will definitely get behind that game.
Yeah, it's been advertised quite a lot. Certain site, you know, like Sci-Fi Channel, things like that here in the U.S. That it's been up a lot. You say it's but you know, Fallout-esque, I guess. If you like Fallout, you'd like that.
In the control scheme, in terms of the way it sort of looks and plays, you know, you sort of take the tarot card system out of the way for just a second. At its core, it's basically that Fallout first-person shooter type of approach where you've got both hands in front of you and you've got wieldable objects, whether that be a crossbow or a magic power, and you know you traverse the land through first person.
And one of the things that's always difficult to tell is how it's going to play with the trophies. So, you know, someone like StarGate, you know, he's hearing about things that, you know, it's affecting like the stealth trophy going through without killing anyone. You're making it sound a lot easier, but you just never know until you get down there and see what the gameplay's like with the trophy trophy challenges, because that can make or break a game for a trophy hunter.
The game, I actually read somewhere that the actual gameplay that you from start to finish, if you pass it and you don't kill anybody or kill only the objective target, you might actually finish the game in about 12 to 15 hours. That's what I've heard. But if you go aggressively and start killing everybody and create a lot of conflict, then it might take you about double the time. So I'm thinking that this game will definitely require at least 2 playthroughs for the platinum. at least 2.
Interesting.
But I think, personally, I think people will just play it anyway, regardless. You know, 2 playthroughs for the platinum. Unlike most games that require multiple platforms, I can see Dishonored certainly being one of those games where each time you play it, the way you play it will affect the different type of experience you'll get. So, it will really be one of, because you hear it all the time when certain games are announced or so on, they go, oh, you'll get multiple paths and stuff that you can play through, but, the experience is still the same. And I think Dishonored will actually really prove the case to be true, that whichever way you approach it, you will get a different experience each time you play through. So, if you have to play it twice for the platinum, and one of those requirements is to go through and not kill anybody, I think you're certainly going to have a whole different set of gameplay elements to it, and a different approach to the whole story as you go through it, as opposed to when you then come back and go and play it for your second time.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, though. Have something like that where your game style is completely different. Of course, if you're not a trophy hunter and you're playing a second time through, maybe that's the focus of having trophies like this, is to try to show, their intention is to have you play through, and one be a stealth playthrough and the other be a just, hack and slash everything you can mode. But certainly it's a lot better than, the alternative, which is you play through on easy, you play through on medium, you play through on hard. That can get old and tedious fast with a game, because it doesn't change the gameplay quite a lot when you just have, a couple of more enemies and maybe they're harder to kill.
I think you tend to find that a lot more with like third-person shooters, where they up the enemy II, and you're still playing through the same linear experience. You've just got to fire more bullets into people, and I think sometimes that is quite annoying.
Yeah.
I definitely like the variety of multiple playthroughs.
Well, we talked about Black Ops the other day. Remember what we were saying about that, which is, where's the Black Ops element when you're leaning out of the helicopter with...
Yeah.
It's not really stealth mode. It's the same with, I'm sure, Black Ops 2 when it comes out. It's not going to be... It's going to be an all-out thing, and there is no true stealth mode. If you were sneaking around, probably most first-person shooter fans would be like, what is this, Assassin's Creed?
Yeah, I've got to admit, I'd be interested to see a Black Ops campaign mode that required stealth. I think that would totally change it.
Well, actually, certain levels of certain title, I think it might actually be in Black Ops, where it was so much easier if you completed a certain level stealth mode. Like, you were given like a sniper rifle with a silencer, and like a handgun with a knife attached to it. So I do remember, I think it was one of the IC mission where you actually climbed it first with the 2 hooks, I think it was.
Yeah, and that's a difficult thing to pull off, because usually most games it's a like 1 in 20 levels kind of thing. You do see a few shooters that'll do that. I remember SOCOM, had their most recent title had quite a few stealth levels. It's refreshing to see that, but it's also hard to mesh with it, because first-person shooter doesn't equal stealth by any means.
I'd be interested to see if especially, obviously, we've seen and heard a lot of Black Ops 2, but they've pointed out that one of the key things they want to do is kind of push the series forward. Now, obviously, we've already seen essentially what Black Ops 2 has to offer, but I do wonder, with further Call of Duty games, would they potentially look at offering multiple paths through the single-player campaign, where you could go and do the whole mission without killing anybody in a Call of Duty style? I'd be interested to see if that's something the developers would look at considering, if they're truly going to push on the series.
They might, but then again, they might not, simply because like people who play first-person shooter, actually want to shoot somebody with a gun. And if you're just walking around completing a mission without it, it's sort of pointless to be a first-person shooter. Now, there might be a level
first-person stabber.
Like the entire thing that way. That's definitely.
Yeah.
But I don't know, because there is one game that kind of pulls it off. I just wish they'd put essentially a bit more effort into that. I don't know if you guys have ever played any of the Operation Flashpoint series.
Not really.
No, actually, I didn't either.
They tend to allow, essentially branching ways of how you tackle objectives. Yes, essentially the objective might be to kill somebody at the end of it all, but there's no set linear path with it. You can pretty much take any route that you want. You could drive a tank straight in there, or you could snipe them from 500 yards and then run away into the trees. So I think that would certainly be something I do wish that COD could implement. Although I do think it may put off a lot of trigger-happy people, because to be honest with you, when I look at Call of Duty, I think that's Twitch gaming, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But coming back to the whole EuroGamer thing, I did have time with the Black Ops 2 multiplayer, and I think I said this to a couple of people since coming back, and sort of really thinking over from what I've played. The core side of any Call of Duty game tends to be the multiplayer, and I think they're doing some great things with the multiplayer side of things. The whole 10. I take it you guys have you heard of the 10 thing system?
No.
A little bit, yeah.
So essentially, the 10 thing system works where you get to basically have 10 things as your setup. So essentially, you could run. If, for example, you're a run and gunner sort of person, you could have a pistol with all the bells and whistles on it, and then maybe 4 or 5 perks, as opposed to just getting your 3 perks. I'm probably not doing a great job of explaining, because although it is essentially a simple system, it's quite complicated to explain it. But you just basically you get 10 things. That's it. You can chop and change them whenever you want, and the whole concept is to make it unique for each individual player, so no player will ever carry the same 10 things.
Now, let me get this straight, because I remember watching a video recently, and it was actually exactly what you were saying regarding there was a person having a handgun, and I believe he actually had 6 perks. So,
yeah,
if I'm understanding correctly, the 10 things is sort of like any 10 things combined into a single setup. For example, if you have a gun, that's 1. If you have a red dot attachment, that's 2. If you have maybe a silencer, that's 3. If you have a secondary handgun, that's 4. And all the perks. I do wonder about one thing, and that's if the camouflage on your weapon actually counts as one of the things. For example, people want to have golden guns, and I don't know that's available, but it probably will be. And I don't know if that attachment will actually count as one of 10.
Well, I wondered that myself. Unfortunately, due to the fact that we were only sort of limited to 2 multiplayer matches, they didn't allow us to go too in depth with it. So it was literally you get a 2-minute break and then you're straight into the next 15-minute game. So 2 minutes is not a lot of time to customise 5 classes with 10 different things. But I do remember putting on an SMG. Can't remember the specific name of it, but then I tried to put on a primary weapon, and I think about 5 perks, and it wouldn't let me carry the primary weapon. So I don't know, the best way I can I do think there probably is an element where it will restrict you in some areas, similar to like in MAG you have a weight limit. So even though you get to choose multiple things, certain things will weigh more than others.
Oh, I see.
So in this case with Black Ops 2, one thing may take up 2 slots of your 10 things.
That makes sense.
So Yeah, but so that was one of the things that I got to sort of test out. But as I say, time is of the essence with it. I do. One of the features I did notice that was quite interesting was multi-team matches.
Yes.
Which works really well, and it does provide an interesting dynamic to the multiplayer. Actually, having 3 teams in one match made it a lot more competitive. I certainly saw examples of 2 teams ganging up on one team, and then as soon as that team was taken out, they started annihilating each other, which was really cool. Although it hurt in terms of score-wise, but yeah, no, that was definitely a cool thing. And the levels certainly seem to be a lot better designed as well for that kind of thing. You know, with close quarters and open spaces, they do seem to be a bit more varied. So I do remember somebody also mentioning about camping as well. They seem to have addressed that issue, which is now pretty much if you stand in one spot for so long, eventually you will just pop up on the mini-map and everyone can see you.
Speaking of that, they actually said it's actually the reason, even if you have the assassin perk, which hides you on the minimap, and like you said, if you stay in one spot for so long, it will show you on the minimap if they have a UAV up in the air, but only then, not otherwise.
Well, I wasn't quite sure how it overall worked, because I know there was a couple of examples where a guy had climbed onto a train and had led down with a sniper rifle, and he had camouflaged cloak, so you basically couldn't see him, sort of a nod to the Crisis series, if you like, but then he was very well hidden, yet people were still able to find him, and he pretty much sat there, because I think he killed me 2 or 3 times in the process of me trying to get anywhere near him to shoot him. And there was nobody around me when I died, so the fact that somebody found him obviously shows that does work.
Good news, good news.
Now,
I mean,
there is one thing that I'm very happy about, and that I'm kind of happy and not happy, but now that I've played Modern Warfare 3, I'm sort of happy that they're doing it, is that all the kill streaks are going to be not objective based, but more geared towards objective. Meaning that if you play the objective, you get more points and you get your kill streak faster versus just camping and trying to get killed. So that's something that they've improved upon, I think.
I wasn't quite sure how the kill streak system worked with that, because from the 2 games that I played, I got the impression it was based on kills, similar to the previous Call of Duties. You rack up X amount of kills, you get a kill streak reward. But having watched the developer diaries prior to going and playing it, I was under the impression that wasn't the case. So, I'm not quite sure about that myself.
It's sort of like, let me explain it how. It's a way to help you would be, if you play Modern Warfare 3 and if you got the support kill streak, for example, like even if you die, your kill streak continues, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the same as in Black Ops 2, but the one thing I know for sure is that, for example, the reason they call it objective is because if you play, let's say, domination and you get a kill, your kill will be 50 points, 50 XP, but if you capture the flag, it will be 150 points. So, and the kill streaks are based on actual XP points, not on actual kills. So, for example, you can capture 3 flags and not kill a single person, and you can get, like, let's say 150 times 450, you can maybe get your 2nd or 3rd kill streak before even killing anybody. So that's kind of interesting.
See, that kind of draws an attraction to me with that, because I've often wondered how people get like kill streaks of 46 to nothing. And I mean, I'm not the worst Call of Duty player in the world, but I'm certainly left scratching my head when somebody pulls that off. And you know, I too would like to get in on the whole chopper UAV action as well. I don't want to go into a multiplayer game, and just feel like that I'm going to get battered and be the runt of the litter, if you like. I hate online multiplayer games that do that to you.
Well, that's the challenge with Call of Duty series.
Interesting to see more of that.
Yeah, that's the challenge with them.
That's what Modern Warfare 3 tried to accomplish, is because they had the support kill streak, and they actually had an EMP and a stealth bomber. So even if you're a bad player, eventually you get an EMP and render the opposing team's kill streaks ineffective. You render them ineffective. So it's kind of, they try to do that in Modern Warfare 3, but now Black Ops 2, I'm really want to see how that's kind of balanced.
And really, if you think about it, it ruins an objective game when, you know, you can have these clans that can have their objective is to get kills, or their objective is to set up kind of spawn traps and things like that, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the objective. But those objective games are going to get them. They're going to more easily accomplish their goal. So you could have someone that could care less about the flag, for example. And, you know, I know groups. My brother-in-law plays Call of Duty, and his clan, they all have like a 3 kill-to-death ratio. And they will play capture the flag, they will take the flag, and they'll camp with it. They'll capture one flag so that they're ahead, and then the other team will spend the entire game trying to scramble to get that flag. And really what they'll do is they'll set up on a spot on the map, someone will have that flag, and it's just a funnel for everyone trying to get to it is going to get killed by them. And it defeats the point of having the objective-based game, because you can use the objective as kind of a lure to, you know, get a high kill to death or things like that. So it shows great promise if they're trying to work towards that, because if you're going to get a lot more points and a lot more score for actually trying for it than getting kills, then it'll attract people more to that, actually completing the objective in that game mode versus just playing team deathmatch and getting their kills.
Kryptonite.
Yes.
You might want to give me that clan, because I might want to join it.
But one of the other features, just to finish up this discussion about Black Ops 2 a bit, that I did get to see, that I'm really intrigued by, is the dual casting commentary, which basically allows 2 people to comment on a match as it happens live, and you can switch between each player. So the guys that are basically doing the commentary of the multiplayer game can switch between each player and comment on those actions. For example, if someone scores a sick kill, you can say in the commentary, "Oh, that such and such has scored a sick kill. He's on a rampage," and those 2 commentators can have a discussion, and the rest of the players will hear it.
Yeah.
Which I think is an interesting feature. My only concern with it is that they seem to be doing a lot of esports stuff.
Yeah, gaming
really
as a sport.
Pushing it as a legitimate competition, a legitimate sport, and I think that's going to drive a lot of people who normally pick up Call of Duty to play it maybe 2 or 3 hours a week. I think that's probably going to draw those people off.
Yeah, maybe.
It'll be interesting to see how it all comes out as a full package. I mean, from what I've played and seen of it, it's certainly worth a purchase. Whether or not it deserves perhaps maybe the success it will get is another thing.
Now, I do know that they said that they've improved a lot of the gameplay capturing, like I guess you call your online vault, or basically the actual gameplay. They said they've improved a lot on it. Like you would be able to click a button and it would actually create the video for you based on your best moments in the actual game session. So I'm kind of interested to see that. So I don't have to waste time trying to, let's say, follow. Let's say you throw a tomahawk, try to follow it through the air, it flies, and then comes down on a person and kills him. And you might just go a button and actually create that for you. So that would definitely be a good thing for all the YouTubers.
Yeah, that'd definitely be an awesome feature.
Yeah, see, they're moving towards trying to, improve that sports popularity, that sports element of it. I don't know how far it'll really go to becoming a sport, but I mean, already you have, competitions worldwide with gaming that, can be a career. People that are at the top teams, but I don't know we'll ever see it in the Olympics or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't think you'll ever get to that scale, but I certainly think, I don't know, it's an interesting dilemma with the whole professional gamers side of things, because I can see the attraction of it as a sport with things like Major League Gaming and so on, but at the same time, the games industry itself is lucky to have a sort of a variety of different gamers, and I think when you start sort of factioning off towards the professional sports, it sort of alienates itself from the rest of the industry to a certain degree.
Yep.
And in the long term, that could have perhaps maybe negative impacts on a lot of the popular franchises that we all know and love at the moment. And I don't know if that's something that I personally would want to see, although anything that raises the profile of the games industry as a whole to being a serious thing as opposed to the stereotypical geeks and nerds thing's good in my book.
Yeah. Well, if anything, I think Call of Duty is the series that is most different from most every game. What I mean by that is, if you look at any title that people buy, the majority of people buy just to play the multiplayer and probably never touch the single player. That's probably the game. Most normal gamers, will play a single player before they worry about the multiplayer, or they play both equally. And so you've got some multiplayer gamers out there. I've got plenty of friends, on my PSN friends list and in real life, that buy Call of Duty and play multiplayer and have never seen the single player. You could ask them anything about the single player and they would have no clue because they've never even booted it up. And
I've seen quite a lot of people suck it into that as well.
Yeah, so it's one of those things. I think Call of Duty's its own little unique beast there because people just pop it in and play the multiplayer and if you just look at people that are playing it, they don't have trophies on their on their trophy count.
Quite often get friend requests from people that I've come across when I've played the odd game, and it's just 0 trophies, and I'm thinking, how can you have not played any games? Do you know what I mean? Besides that one multiplayer aspect of it, it just, I don't know. I find it confounding and confusing for my head to process. I'm just like, surely you must have earned one trophy somewhere in a game that you popped in for 5 minutes.
Well, as trophy hunters, I think we try to squeeze, a lot of us are completionists, and I think that stems from you try to squeeze every little bit out of a game, and I think most of us have the concept of, when you play through all the trophies and you've beaten it 100%, that's when you've truly got your money's worth out of the game, versus if you you just played the multiplayer or something like that. I'm very much like that myself. A lot of games, if I haven't played a large majority of it, I feel like I've wasted my money. So I think that's where that comes from.
I'm sort of the flip side of that coin with that. As a collector, I never feel like I've wasted my money. Even if I don't get all the trophies 100%, it will still sit in my shelf as a collection.
Yeah.
Really? I don't tend to keep games because once I complete it and I platinum it, I never really find the joy to play it again. So, in my opinion, there's no point in staying on my shelf collecting dust if I'm not going to play it again. So I either sell it or trade it in.
Yeah, and I had a point where I had a large game collection too, but I realized one day it's like I always said, yeah, I'd love to go back and play that, sometime, but I realized I never really did because there's always something new, and since there's always something new, those always took precedence, and I knew that, realistically, I wouldn't get back to playing those, even if they were great games that I loved. I'd probably never touch them again. And part of it too is clearing the path there. It allows you to get a little bit of money out of them while you still can put that towards the next game, and you can have more games that way.
Well, it's not just that, actually, Kryptonite. It's actually, it goes a little deeper, and what I mean is, if you play a game today and it's like a great game, let's say Assassin's Creed 3, for example, and you play it and you have a lot of fun, and then you say, oh, this is a great game, I'm going to keep it, I'm not going to sell it. And then a year or a year and a half or so down the road, like, oh, I like this game, let me play it back again. And actually, when you play games that you've played before, and there's a big gap in between, time-wise, it sort of destroys your opinion of the game that you used to have. So that's another reason why I don't usually replay old games.
I don't know, for the journalistic aspect of myself is always curious about that, how the games fare a couple of years down the line. I'm always intrigued by that because, as you say, games are always, there's always that new thing that you kind of have to have, and they're always improving, like, for example, with EA using the Frostbite engine in pretty much everything and constantly marketing the fact that they've now got the Frostbite 2 engine, and in a year and a half, 2 years time, we'll be talking about the Frostbite 3 engine and so on. So I'm always intrigued going back to see which games actually stand the test of time, and I think having a nice collection and being able to do that is actually quite a privilege. But I get at the same time that games are quite expensive, and once you've beaten it, are you going to get any more value out of it? If not, trade it in, get the latest thing, and step up.
Yeah, or the other thing that's happened to me is, do you have that game save? Are you completely starting over after a couple of years, and or you've got the game saved at a point where it's like you've got every item and millions of gold or whatever, and so I don't know. There's some old games I can look back and say I wish I'd have kept, but then the majority of it I know I would never really pop back into my PlayStation again to try. So it's a trade-off, I guess. You think you'll miss them, but then you realize probably 99% of them probably not.
Be interesting to do a news piece on it or something for the site to just gauge what people, perhaps go back through some of the games I've got, have a look at it, try some of the older games out, like, for example, just off the top of my head, something like Unreal 3, for example, and just sort of do a piece about how it stacks up now. Be interesting to see what the community would say about that sort of thing, get their opinions on it.
Speaking of replaying old games, in the past, I guess it would be like 2 years, I guess, there have been a lot of, because many developers, publishers, I guess they can't come up with new ideas, they've actually remastered and with high definition some of their old games and tried to get more money out of previous titles that they used to sell. So you see a lot of classic HD, like the Prince of Persia trilogy, the Metal Gear Solid trilogy. There's so many games that they're doing that it's forcing a lot of trophy completionists to play older games, in a way. Not forcing them, but if they want to, then they need to get them.
I don't know. The way I see HD collections is it's kind of important to the game's heritage. If you're going to bring out the next Metal Gear Solid game, for example, obviously, what's the next one? I think it's Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes or something.
Right, it's Metal Gear Rising Revergence, I think.
Yeah. I don't really class that as a Metal Gear Solid game, if I'm honest, and I did get a chance to play that, and I can tell you now, it is not a Metal Gear Solid game, apart from the fact that it has Raiden in it. It is platinum through and through, but if we look to the next Metal Gear Solid game, for example, that's going to be aimed at a new generation. I think it's important for that new generation to also have that option to go back and see where it stemmed from. And Metal Gear Solid is a perfect example because although each game has been different as it's gone on, there is a cohesive universe behind it, and each one sort of delves into that universe. And I think, the HD collections are great, and it allows them to do that. And same with the Prince of Persia. The Prince of Persia, every time there's a new Prince of Persia game, it's basically a reboot, and they're constantly rebooting it. But I think it's also important to go back and sort of see where it all came from in the first place.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, I think we'll conclude for this episode of the podcast. Anything to finish up with, Stargate, Dante?
I've talked a lot about stuff, haven't I? We didn't probably go through as much EuroGamer stuff, but I have promised to make sure that I do get some of these previews up. The only probable thing that I'd probably just add is that one of the things I want people to be aware of is the Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation preview. I won't go into too many spoilers, but I will say that you guys are obviously aware of the Vita's not doing particularly well, even though it's a great piece of hardware. And I think if anything's going to sell that platform, Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation truly is. So all I'd have to add towards the end of this is watch out for that preview going up on the side, and then you'll be amazed at what's in there.
Okay, awesome. Looking forward to that. Stargate, anything to add?
No, not really. I'm too excited. Like, I can't keep every day I keep thinking, oh, let's move forward in time, like 2-3 weeks, so October 30th can come.
Yeah, it's getting that time of the year, isn't it? Just everybody's like buzzing and new games, and
yes,
it'd be great.
Like I told Kryptonite, October, November is the most exciting time of the year for me.
Yes. Yeah. So to recap, what are we looking at? October 30th, Assassin's Creed 3. Dishonored, October 9th. That's 2 days. And see what else.
Black Ops.
November 13th.
Yes, and I guess we didn't go into too much detail. I kind of wanted to get some info, but maybe not. Dante, have you got a chance to see or play Hitman Absolution in EuroGamer?
I did indeed. I even got some freebies.
Oh, man.
He got his freebies.
Yeah. I did get a chance to play on it. I don't know if you want me to go into too much over the end of this, or perhaps maybe wait for a preview. Well, it's quintessentially the Hitman of old, which is thing. Gameplay mechanics are great. It's interesting to see how I don't know if you remember a few years back when Splinter Cell was on the verge of being canned, and they talked about all that crowd technology.
Crap.
I don't know if you guys remember that.
No, I don't actually.
Tech demo with Sam Fisher with a beard walking through a crowd. They seem to have implemented a lot of that into Hitman. So, like, you'll have these environments, and there's just going to be tons of people in there. I mean, there are stealth missions and so on, but from what I played, you have these crowded people, which brings an interesting dynamic to the whole Hitman thing, because usually it's like infiltrate a building as quietly or as loudly as you want. There isn't too many people around, take out your target in the best way you want to. With this, they've sort of balanced it with both. So now, while you do get those kinds of missions, you're now going to have to literally kill people in open public places. And that presents a whole new challenge for Hitman fans, really. Certainly the level I've played, although it was missing a tutorial with the controls, which made it a bit more difficult, it handled brilliantly, and it was interesting to try and work your way through the crowd. And there was about, I think, from the guy that I'd spoken to on the booth, he said there was about 20 different ways to get that right.
Wow.
To actually infiltrate that crowd and pull off your mission. So, and I hadn't even scratched the surface. Like, I went through some doors, turned left, took out a policeman, disguised myself, and I still wasn't even able to get close to the target. But it turned out that if I hadn't closed the doors, I'd gone down the other end of the street. There was a wall that I could climb over, and so on. So that gives you some idea of the scope of it. You know, 20 different ways to kill one person in a public area with lots and lots of people around. Has got me kind of buzzing for Hitman a bit more than I perhaps was beforehand. But yeah, no, it's definitely one that, you know, if you like the Hitman of old, you're going to love this.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Stargate's trying to figure out what he wants to get. Was that your 200th platinum?
No, not 200. I'm currently at 96, and I'm trying to get
100
for the year before.
100th platinum. Yeah, okay, my bad. I thought you were
much
further ahead than. But yeah, it's you've got what between that Hitman, Assassin's Creed, Dishonored.
I have 4 lines. I have Hitman, Black Ops, Assassin's Creed, and Dishonored. So those are 4 games.
I think you should do it on something new and instead of a series in the title myself. But you know, he's trying to get
the 2 that you want to have on your list for early next year is definitely Tomb Raider and Metal Gear Rising.
Oh yeah.
Just having played both of them, I went to the Crystal Dynamics developer session as well, and I was really intrigued by what they had to say about the plans for the reboot in terms of things like supporting it with DLC, being able to access new areas. Yes, there is some linear gameplay to Tomb Raider side of it, but there will also be a lot of exploring as well in between those linear bits. So if you can sort of think Lara Croft hunting in a jungle, a la Red Dead Redemption style, where you need to hunt for food and all that sort of thing, then you're sort of on the right track for the reboot of that. And as for cool. Metal Gear Rising, if you've loved Platinum's previous games, such as Vanquish and Bayonetta, you know, Metal Gear Rising's just it looks amazing, it plays amazing, and it just feels so smooth that it's definitely those 2 definitely ones that you should have on your pre-order list for early next year.
Yeah, I like the Tomb Raider series is actually pretty good, and I've played them, and that sounds like something I'd look forward to. It's very it was very Uncharted because you're doing all the climbing and things like that. I wonder if they're getting away from that a little bit more and trying to add some more elements, because it's almost like Uncharted kind of took that, because it's Tomb Raider was around first. And then they just capitalized on it and made it that much better. But maybe that's a little bit where Tomb Raider's kind of probably taking a new direction.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dante.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, the concept to the last one, Tomb Raider Underworld, was interesting in the way that they were going to reboot that, but they never sort of really pulled it off. I think this time round, that there are obviously going to be comparisons with the Uncharted series, but I think what sort of makes Tomb Raider sort of stand out more from Uncharted this time round with the reboot is that there's a very real feel to it. There's certain scenes that will make the gamer uncomfortable with how they approach and play that, and I kind of like that because it's challenging the gamer.
Mm-hmm.
And making them feel very much, you're not talking about this in the past silicon-breasted heroine who just kicks ass. This time you do get the feeling as you play that you're talking about a very vulnerable young lady who's thrust into all this and, all this compelling, violent stuff that's going on without a clue of what's to come, being very scared, being very cold, being very hungry and very vulnerable, and it comes across in the gameplay, and I kind of enjoy that because it is real.
It is.
You fall out of a tree, you will hear that bone crunch.
Huh.
You know, and that's something that an Uncharted game doesn't offer, and that's why I think they've been very successful with the reboot. Certainly from the stuff that I've seen so far, that I think the reboot's going to be very successful, and in the respect that they've managed to sort of keep the core of what Tomb Raider is, but also make it very different from the competition. I now sort of see Uncharted in the same way that I would see perhaps maybe an Indiana Jones movie, where, you know, yes, there is violence, but there is that family-friendly fun to it, you know, with the dialogue and so on. You don't get that in this new Tomb Raider. It's very gritty, very dirty, very real.
Now, there is one thing that they've added that I see actually a lot of developers and publishers using it more and more, which I believe Red Dead Redemption introduced it first, where you can kill animals, like wild animals, and sell their skin and everything, and then sell it for profit. Now, Assassin's Creed 3 is also featuring that, but the difference in Tomb Raider is you actually killing wild animals, not to sell their skin and meat for money, but actually to feed yourself.
Yeah, to survive, and that's one of the key points that Crystal Dynamics were keen to point out in the developer interview, that, you know, essentially this new Tomb Raider game is truly all about survival. You know, what would you do to survive? How far would you go to survive? You know,
it's like watching a documentary survival TV series or something.
Yeah, essentially, but obviously with the whole conspiracy adventure storyline kind of thrown in there.
Now this is like kind of almost a prequel type thing, where before she gets all of her skill in raiding tombs.
She's pretty young in the game, so it's probably something that led to her actual character.
It was interesting because somebody did ask that question. They were like, well, you know, this is a reboot. How's this going to be implemented into the rest of the universe? Crystal Dynamics were very keen to distance themselves from Lara in previous years. They're kind of drawing a line under it and sort of saying, right, what went before doesn't count. It's more about where we're going. So, best example, sort of similar example I could make is, for example, DC Comics recently rewrote the storylines of all the superheroes and drew a line under it and said everything that's gone before doesn't matter. That's past.
Yeah, well, they've done that a few times. They've done that more than once.
Yeah, so, and now it's going to be the focus on going forward. So you're not going to be playing games like Underworld or Anniversary and all that sort of stuff. We're not going to have that type of game anymore. It's now going to be built. It's basically a new foundation. It's going to be on this survival, making it very real, and that's how they're going to take it forward, and everything beforehand just basically ignore.
Awesome stuff, awesome stuff. Okay, guys, well, I think we should probably wrap it up. Tomb Raider, March 5th is the information I think I have for that.
Was it Tomb Raider or Last of Us? Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider.
Oh.
Tomb Raider. Yeah, there's quite a few coming out. Some in the first part of next year. That wow, I'm my interest is peaked on this one though, because that sounds like the kind of game I would like.
I can tell you for sure.
You start getting into version 3 and version 4 and version 5 of games, and I typically don't. I start losing my interest a little bit, but I love the reboot.
Just wanted to point out, sorry, that if anyone is kind of interested in the titles that we've talked about today, EuroGamer.net actually has videos from all the developers' sessions on there. On their website, so if you wanted to go back and sort of see some of the developer sessions from Oddworld, IO Interactive with Hitman, Crystal Dynamics and so on, you can go back and watch those. You may even catch a glimpse of me asking Crystal Dynamics a question in front of 400 people, which was quite nerve-wracking, but yeah, you can go back and watch all those developer sessions, so, you know, do check it out. It's definitely interesting to watch.
Well, when you put some of your stories, maybe put some links to some of those. Maybe we could see you in your and some of them
trying to
asking
get
some
links in
questions.
there for people, yeah.
But so moving on, we're I want to make sure that everyone understands our focus going forward. We want to support the videos. We want to support the movement to write articles. Keep up with the stuff that you love. We have a lot of stuff with the Signature of the Week coming up. The next topic is TV shows, 50 quids, photo funds going on. We're going to be redesigning those staff tiles. The video showcase area has been totally revamped. Lots of room in there for whatever video types that you make. We still have the off-topic section, obviously. I've got a video that I may pop in there myself in the off-topic. But, anything that you're making videos about, feel free, to, show them on the site. And, we'll stop by and we'll help you as much as we can. We'll get you some viewers. Linked around the internet, the more you're going to draw people in. Yeah. And the other thing I'll say, finishing up, we want to try to get these podcasts to MP3 format. I'm going to give that a shot so that it'll be available on iTunes. And, in the future, we look forward to having a lot of user questions. When we get this really sorted out and we're doing a lot better at it, we'll start taking some of the chat questions and things like that from folks. And Dante, StarGate, I want to thank you both for being on here today.
It's my pleasure.
And any final words, StarGate? You want to try and do Tazzy Cookies sign off again? Yeah, I often wonder. It's like, am I supposed to have something like that here at the end?
He said, "This is Tazzy Cookies signing out."
Yeah, well, I guess we'll just have to do it the normal way. This is Kryptonite Dragon. Thank you, StarGate. Thank you, Dante. On behalf of Trophies on PSN's third podcast, signing off. Thank you.
Bye.